Thank you, folks, for giving you a moment to breathe. And please welcome the producer of the film, Efrat Cohen.
Hello.
Hi, Efrat. Good. We have a lot of questions. Can you explain this movie to us? Let me start.
Do that.
Let me start by asking, first of all, the three brothers are three brothers in real life.
Yeah, but first I just want to say thank you for being here, for inviting us to screen the film. I am very happy and excited to be here. Yeah.
Well, I'll then start by saying, before we get into questions, that this is a challenging film. I won't say this is the easy one that's for everybody. That's like, Avi Nesher was just before it. A little easier sometimes. I feel that this film really captures, as I said before, a fresh voice that's coming out of Israeli cinema. Israeli cinema is developing into such an industry and taking on so many new directions. And that independent voice that's trying something a little bit more artistic, that's trying something a little bit more sincere to their art and not trying to be something else is not easy, and it's really great to see something. When I saw this, I said, wow, I haven't seen another Israeli movie like this, and with so much going on, I really give that a lot of credit.
Thank you.
So now that they're applauding, tell us about how this was made. So these are three brothers in real life, and one of them is the director of the film as well.
That's right. This is actually a film that was written and directed by Yona Rosenkier, who is playing the eldest brother in the film, Itai. And it's based on autobiographic facts. Many parts of the film is his own story. Obviously, the post-trauma is his. The kibbutz is his kibbutz. Many parts. The mother. Yeah.
It's so interesting because, it's such a surreal world, and yet it's such a real world. I think Israel often, and one could take this into a further metaphor, Israel often is a society where you sometimes look around and you say, wow, is this a reality? Is this real? Often you find yourself in these surreal moments, I think, in places in Israel, especially in conditions of war, conditions of kibbutz life, such as theirs. Not all kibbutz life, but there's definitely unique experiences within the lifestyles in Israel. What did you, when you were coming into this, they hand you a script with a story, what are you're like, yeah, sure, this makes sense to me, let's make this movie. What were your reactions to it? Where did you connect to it?
Well, it's a very man film, I would say. I think
masculine.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that what is very strong in the film is the fact that there are plenty of very small nuances that are very authentic in the story and in the film to real life in Israel, in the kibbutz. And it brings a piece of reality that, in a way that you usually don't see, I think, because he's a son of the kibbutz, because he knows this world, so he grew up in this life. So for me, it was, I felt Yona, I felt the director, I felt the whole, and also there is a humor there, it's a kind of a Wild West territory, I don't know, area that I think it's a part of the magic of the world that he succeeds to bring.
I felt the film also makes a statement on the violence in Israeli society.
Yeah.
Was it meant as a reality, as a criticism
obviously. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think that in my eyes at least, he succeed to bring the complex inside one family. Three brothers, that through the three of them you can feel the complex of being growing up in a very masculine society, which is in this story, not everywhere, but in this place, it's very important to be a man, and you do that by education for getting out fear out of you.
So let me ask my last question before we take some questions from the audience. I'm sure they have their questions,
okay.
but on the set itself, the environment. One would say I've been on sets, and I've seen especially sets in Israel. There's sometimes a very manly, violent environment on sets themselves. One that might even fit into the themes that this film was criticizing. Was this something? Would they say cut and suddenly that whole world that they're portraying would disappear, or was that energy part of the filmmaking too? Because the film has such an energy.
Yeah, I must admit that I agree with you specifically in this set. Yonah brought many of his friends to the set. We were really few women there, maybe 5, I think, and it was it's brotherhood kind of. The atmosphere was like a brotherhood. I don't know how to phrase it.
Yeah. Interesting, because there is. The film itself, which I give it credit to, is filled with. I think there's an authenticity there, but there's a very strong masculine energy throughout. Mm-hmm. Let's grab some questions from the audience for those who dare, and there are no bad questions.
Yeah.
Here, ma'am. I'm going to dare, and I'm a woman. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very interesting. I loved it. I have to tell you, I loved it. And what I love about it is that, maybe I should tell you what I don't love about it, but I'll tell you what I love about it. It's about 3 brothers, and I happen to have right now 3 brothers that are friends. They're not Israelis. And every one is different. And every one of these brothers have their own emotional, ego, mental issues that in watching this film, I went, oh my God, I've got to call Ian and Brad and Hunter. And I must tell them, they don't speak Hebrew. I don't even know if they've been to Israel. But it is such a fabulous human story that I love. Here's what I don't love. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
I'm a born Israeli who was brought to America when I was 10 years old under duress. I didn't want to come here. And I am so upset that the film has to portray a negative part of Israel. It's a human story. It's a story that brothers and sisters throughout the world, and it doesn't have to be men, and it doesn't have to be the masculine attitude. It's just a great human global story. And I'm so upset that we're placing it as an Israeli, because we have so much anti-Semitism. And it's so upsetting for another film, which is fabulous.
Let's get a response.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say that I don't agree. I think that the film reflects reality. It reflects a point of view that exists in many parts of the society in Israel. And the film brings it, it dare to bring these kind of parts that are living in society. I don't think it's anti-Semitism, of course not. I think that it brings the questions that we have. It brings the complex, how do you say, complexity, yeah, of many people who lives in Israel. Especially, but I do agree that it's a kind of a family drama. We screened the film. I must say that we screened it in many places around the world, and not everyone really understand the many things in the film because it's very Israeli, local in many parts. But the family drama, everyone feel that. I mean, I myself heard these sentences, people who said about the fact that they have children, and it's exactly what you said about your brothers. So I agree, it brings much more than Israeli point of view drama. Yeah.
I'll just add that I think that there's something beautiful in what you're saying. I love the fact that it manages to resonate universally as a story of brothers and story of humans, and that's something that I think comes from the authenticity of the film and the way the film was made and produced, and it's something that is absolutely universal, even though it is so specifically Israel. It cannot be anywhere else but Israel. Every bit about it. What I will say is, and this is something that comes out in general about Israeli films that don't always show the most positive sides of Israel, is if you're showing a human story of Israel, even humans that are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, humans that are suffering from all the wars that Israel goes through, from all the troubles that Israel that exists, that we cannot ignore, that is actually doing Israel justice by showing that these people who are living there are human. And that's something that we should be bringing to the world.
And I'm sorry you felt that. I do.
We have a question up there. So.
Just really responding to the comment previous, if this brings one thing to the attention of the general audiences, it would be what it feels like to have the siren go off, and the public's response to the siren, no matter where they live. The Israeli public's attention.
It's so funny how this takes you so beyond anything you'll read in the news. This gives you a taste of, I mean, the alerts going off on their phones, the reality of when phones work, and it's really a real experience.
Well, I never talk on microphones. Okay. I just moved back from Israel, so I have a very strong emotion about all of it at the moment. And I totally agree that I wasn't born there, and so I've seen what people have gone through. I've been with people that have the PTSD and have been through every war, and I see the horrible negative side of it. But on the other side, I feel like the people are so evolved and have they enjoy their life so much, and they really appreciate the things that matter, like your family and your friends and the community side of things, and their curiosity about the world, and it actually in a probably sadistic way makes them more interesting to me than the people I've met growing up in New York and Connecticut, because they have gone through this, and it makes them almost more authentic people than what I experience here. And so the movie to me just showed that exactly like it's super high and super low and really intense, and you feel emotions like you have like Memorial Day and you're like it's horrible, and then you have Independence Day and it's amazing, and it's just like the highs and lows of it that Israelis are really good at dealing with. But I feel like the film showed that exactly, but it's not a negative thing. It's like something that makes your character a lot stronger because of what you had to go through.
Okay. Thanks.
What were the reactions to the film in Israel?
Well, we actually releasing the film only on the beginning of July. So we
Tell your
screened.
friends in Israel.
Yeah, we screened it, and it was in the Jerusalem Film Festival. We received many obviously good
Reception.
yeah. And also in Ha'arava Film Festival in the Negev. We have really few in Israel, but right now we're going to theatrically release.
I'm also a born Israeli, and I had maybe the misfortune to fight in 2 wars. And I think that one of the things that you did in this movie, which is amazing, is to bring up this post-traumatic stress syndrome. Mm-hmm. That was something that in my days nobody talked about. Mm-hmm. The wars have changed quite a bit. My last war was 1973, which was quite traumatic, but not as much as the type of war that we see today, which is completely different. And I think to bring this subject in such a not nice, but in such a strong way is amazing. But one question that I have, it seems like I've seen now 3 movies over here, and it seems like the Israeli writers or producers have this kind of knack of finishing the movie with like, okay, so where do we go from here? So can you make a comment of it? Because it's like
I would say
it doesn't.
About
we
the
don't know
ending.
which way it's going.
So I love the ending. I think that Yonah, the director, he chose to end the film with Itai, with the eldest. And through this kind of ending, which is quite open in a way, we see that he's the only one who eventually goes to the war. And in that moment, I don't know if you felt that, but it's like he finally, there's a moment that he understands that he is also post-traumatic, that it affected him not that far from his brother. And he's the only one who's taking on his shoulder the responsibility. So yes, yeah.
I will say that Israeli films do not always tie things up as clearly as some Hollywood films like to do as far as endings go, and leaves more, I think, respect for the audience to kind of figure things out a little bit more on their own. I took from, by the way, that last scene there of his, that for me was just like the futility of war. I hear that the water keeps coming apart. He's going to try to fix things. He's going to keep trying to fix things, and it'll keep coming apart, and he's going to get soaked, and it must have been a lot of fun to shoot that scene, I can imagine.
Yeah, yeah, there are some more parts of it, because he's, the water, the ground. He's a physical guy. It's in his soul. Yeah.
It felt perfectly in character. Mm-hmm. We're going to take one last question over here.
I'm no expert on Israeli films. I think this is the first one I've seen where there's no hero. There's just no heroes here. Except one moment at the bar when he looks up at the poster of Clint Eastwood and says, "It's all your fault." What were you getting at?
Yeah, you know that in Jerusalem Film Festival, when we received the award for the actor, they gave it for the 3 brothers all together. They didn't agree to give it to one actor. So in a way, I think it's Yoel, of course, is the one that is really lead the plot. But I agree. The whole three of the brothers, they create one protagonist. Yeah.
And why is it Clint Eastwood's fault?
Sorry?
Why is it Clint Eastwood's fault?
Oh, isn't it obvious? No? Because, Clint Eastwood is a symbol. Is a symbol for masculinity. Yeah. Is the hero we all grew up in, and this is what they all want to be. This is the yeah.
I think in general in Israeli society, there was not a lot of room not to be macho. You had to be a man. You had to be with a capital M. You had to be Clint Eastwood, and there was not always enough of that freedom to talk about post-traumatic stress and to not be as manly as Clint Eastwood, who really doesn't exist.
No. No.
That's another story. Yeah. Efrat, thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Isaac.
Thank you all for taking these questions. And thank you for a wonderful film. Folks, tomorrow we have two screenings of Avi Nesher films. And then Saturday night we have an all-night event with free cheesecake and Israeli TV. So please join us. Have a good night, and we look forward to seeing you soon.